Yo, 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 guys, what is up? What is up? Dart is back in World of Tanks, and welcome to the garage. So, I believe my last video, I believe I will release that one right before this one. Excuse me, daggone it. Yeah, so I just released a randoms video on the Panther. So, I thought, why not make our next video the garage for the Panther? So here it is, boys and girls, and this is the long needle nose on it. Yeah. So we'll get into the gun and stuff here in a few minutes. This video may run a little bit longer than usual, guys, just because the garage segment part. Just because there is a lot of history on this thing. I mean, a lot. And I'm unfortunately going to end up having to leave a lot of it out because there's just a ton on this thing because it was extensively used during World War II. So let's start. Panther is the common name for the medium tank fielded by Nazi Germany in World War II that served from the mid-1943 to the end of the European War in 1945. Now, it was intended to counter the T-34 and to replace the Panzer III and the Panzer IV. While never replacing the latter, meaning the Panzer IV, it served alongside it as well as the heavier Tiger tanks until the end of the war. The Panther's excellent combination of firepower, mobility, and protection served as a benchmark for other nations, late war and immediate post-war tank designs, and it was frequently regarded to as one of the best tank designs of World War II. The Panther tank was the Panther tank was a compromise of various requirements. While sharing essentially the same engine as the Tiger I tank, it had better frontal armor, including the benefit of a sloping angle, increasing effective armor depth. Better gun penetration, was slightly overall and thus faster. It was lighter and thus overall faster, and it could handle rough terrain better than the Tigers. The trade-off was weaker side armor, and the Panther proved to be deadly in all open country and shooting from long range, but vulnerable to close quarters combat. Now also, the 75mm gun fired a slightly smaller shell than the Tiger's 88, which proved providing less high explosive power against infantry. So the real one only had the 75mm. Now if we look in game here, let's see what we got here. We have a 7.5 centimeter, 7.5, and we have the 88. So I don't believe it had this really long, ridiculous long gun on it, on the real one though. I believe they're probably talking about this one right here, the L70. This L100 is just entirely too long for it to been real. I mean, to been on the real tank. I mean, that's just speculation, but I really don't think it had this huge, long-ass gun on it. The Panther was also far cheaper to produce than Tiger tanks, and only slightly more expensive than the Panzer IV. And its design came to fruition at the same time as the rich monastery of armament, and war production was making great efforts to produce the war production. Key elements of the Panther design, such as its armor, transmission, and final drive, were compromises made specifically to improve production rates and address Germany's war shortages. Because before this thing came along, they were using primarily Panzer IVs and some Tigers. Especially on the Russian front, there were a lot of cases where, now I'm not reading this, but there were a lot of cases where they were down to just a handful of Panzer IVs. it was getting really bad for a little while there, especially on the Russian front, because as everybody knows, Russia was a high tank culture, so they had a lot of tanks and a lot of good tanks at the time, and yeah, they were able to. That was one of Germany's major problems on that front. Not to mention the cold. It was Russian land. Russia, is used to the cold. Their equipment is built accordingly, and Germans and Germany equipment were not. So anyway, let's see, where did I leave off here? The result was that the Panther tank production was far higher than it was possible for the Tiger tanks. Not much higher than that. Don't you hate it when your tongue gets all twisted up? Had been accomplished with the Panzer IV. At the same time, the simplified final drive became a single major success of breakdowns, single major cause of breakdowns in the Panther tank, and the problem was never corrected. The Panther tank arrived in 1943 at a critical phase of World War II, and Germany rushed into combat at the Battle of Kursk, which again was on that Russian front there, with an uncorrected teething problem, which resulted in breakdowns and other equipment failures. The Panther tank would thereafter only be fighting outnumbered in Germany's steady retreat against the Allies, and the remainder of World War II. Its success was a battlefield weapon, was thus hampered by Germany's general declining position in the war, with the loss of air power protection by the Luftwaffe, the loss of fuel and training space, and declining quality of tank crews. Nevertheless, the Panther tank demanded respect from the Allies and its combat capabilities. It led the introduction to the heavier Allied tanks, such as the Soviet IS-2 and the American M26 Pershing, into the war. Alright, that's all we're going to go through. But yeah, this thing was badass. And yeah, one of the interesting things, it was on one of those history shows I always watch. I can't remember the country. I don't think for sure it was Germany, but it was close to it, close to the border of the country. This tank came into a face-to-face combat with an M4 Sherman. It fired straight at the hull of the M4 Sherman, which if I still had my Sherman, I'd show it to you. But yeah, it fired at the hull of the Sherman. The Sherman was at an angle like this, and the Panther was looking at it at the Sherman at the angle we're looking at this Panther. The shell hit the front of the hull and deflected up into the barrel of the gun, and it dented the barrel of the gun. And just a millisecond after that, the Sherman went to return fire. And what that shell did, when it hit the barrel, it bent it. So when the Sherman fired, it split the barrel right in here into three, split it in 3 spots. So it kind of looked like a banana. We hold a banana at each end and push it together. It's exactly what it looked like right there. It was kind of cool. But yeah, this thing was a badass tank in World War II. Unfortunately, for Nazi Germany, not for the rest of the world, but unfortunately for Nazi Germany, their problem with their tanks were a shared problem they had with their aircraft. German engineering was second to none. Period. I mean, they were the first to develop the jet engine. German engineering was second to none. However, their advances and this higher technology, with their aircraft, their tanks, everything, came too little, too late. Had they developed these things sooner in the war, I think the war would have gone a whole lot differently than the way it did. Had they produced these Panthers and backed him up with a few Tiger tanks, I think they would have had a lot more success on the Russian front. They would have had more success on the Allied front as well. When I say Allied front, I'm talking about UK, US, and France. And then Russia had the other side, was attacking from the other side. So they would have had more success on fighting the other three nations. However, they weren't having a whole hell of a lot. Their tanks were far superior to anything France, US, and Britain were fielding early in the war. And like I mentioned in one of my other videos, I think, me personally, I think the US is which were the largest. They were the largest fighting force on this side of Germany, and their how shall we say it? Their option, the strategy they decided to employ against the Tigers and the Panthers. Well, let's just say the superior tanks. Their ideas to combat that is to throw more M4s at them. Don't improve the M4, just throw more of them at it. Makes no damn sense to me. But yeah, let's not improve shit. Let's just throw more shit at at them and see if that works. And for I mean, they did improve because they had the Hellcat. They had some good artillery. The Hellcat was one. The Wolverine was another one. Those were great TDs. Used to great effect during the war. But it wasn't until the Easy 8 came out that they started making a lot more progress. But anyway, I digress. Back onto the Panther. End game. This tank is, it's alright. It is alright. Depends on how you play it. Now, most people put this long 100, 75 long 100 on here. Now, this gun is really good in one respect and not so good in another. You gotta remember, this is a tier 7 medium, so you're gonna see tier 9 tanks in this thing. Now, this gun has a penetration of 198. With your crew and tank and everything, you can get it up to 248. This thing will pin tier 9 tanks. I mean, you gotta aim for the weak spots and all that other good stuff, but it will pin a tier 9 tank. It'll definitely pin a tier 8 tank. It still has problems against KB5. You gotta aim for that R2. But, and under Glacius on the IS series, except for the IS-1, that thing's butter any damn way. But, yeah, it will definitely pin the tanks you're up against. No ifs, ands, or asses about that. Shell damage of up to 169. That is the sad drawback of this tank. Chances are you're not going to kill anything, in a one-on-one combat, one-on-one battle, you at full health, him at full health. It's just not likely. Now, this gun has a good rate of fire of 12.5 rounds per minute. That is good. It is very good. I think it's a 4 or 5 second reload on this thing. It has a phenomenal rate of fire, which is where they try to make up for that, alpha damage, which is, we'll call it zeta damage because it's only 169. But yeah, so this gun is great for sniping. It is not a brawler gun because the fact you're not going to be able to kill them before they kill you just because of the low damage on here. So this gun is for sniping or for supporting the push. Stay behind some heavies. Flank, but watch it. Because if he turns his attention on you, we'll get into the armor and stuff out here in a minute. But if he turns his attention on you, you're just not gonna be able to push out large amounts of damage at at anybody. And that's the problem with this gun. Now, there is the 88. long 56. There you go. Now, this gun, let's get that stuff off there. There we go. Now, this gun will do 165 shell penetration. So you're gonna have to attack, tanks flank. You have to go for rear and ass of the heavy tanks, which should be fine because we look at the T-43. That's what it's used to. Let's just click over there. T-43 180 penetration. It's the only other tier 7 medium I have. So we ought to be used to having to flank in this thing. Same thing with the T-20. The T-20 had a great gun, but it had no armor to speak of. It was it was a paper mache tank. So it also had to be a flanker. It couldn't go toe to toe with anybody because it had no armor. So you ought to be used to having to flank and run around the enemy. So that's not a big deal. Now, if we look, let's go ahead and put this other gun back on. So, you can brawl a little bit with this 88, but you have to get to their sides and rear. Now, you should be able to penetrate, gun emplacements like this right here, portholes, viewing holes, whatever, with this gun. You should be able to do that. Sometimes you may have problems with an underglacius on a tank, but it just depends on what you're up against. Now, let's look at the armor on this thing. The hull armor, 85 on the front, 40 on the rear and sides. Compare that to the Russian, which has 75 all the way around the hull. Now, we can look at that angle there, and then we can look at this one. This one's got a little bit better angling on the front. Excuse me. And then if you angle this hull, and it has 10 more millimeters of armor on the front, and if you angle this hull, especially at a tier 7 battle, and some on some tier 8s, if you angle this hull properly, you could get some bounces on it. I've gotten bounces on it. It is very doable. This tank is not as soft as what a lot of people have said or led on to believe. This thing can get bounces. This thing can get in the thick of it, especially when you put the 88 gun on it. That 275 damage is a hell of a lot better than that 196 by far. The rate of fire is a little bit less at 796. That's 9 rounds, about 9 rounds per minute. But that ain't too bad. That ain't too bad at all. That's a little, I think that's about 7 or 8 second reload, if memory serves. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, this, with the 88, it is a very, very effective gun, or a tank. With the long one, with the long L100, it's also a very effective tank. It's just, that damage on it is what, is what gets me on here. And it's all up to your play style. How do you like to play? Do you like to be back and hide in a bush? Or, do you, want to be able to get up into the action? It just depends on, your style of play. But it is nice, this tank, if you play with it and, experiment with it, check what angle you need to get, which I figure about just like there. You can get into the thick of it. You don't have to be hiding in the back like a little wuss. You can get up into the action, just like you do with a Pershing or an M20 or T20 or the T43. You can get in there and have some fun in this thing. When you put that 88 on there. You can get up and do it with the L100 too, but I just feel that the 88 is a lot more a lot more suited for that playstyle. It's not very slow. It's got some pretty good speed, 48 kph speed limit. I usually get it up at to about 40. Let's see. What about our hit to ratio? Traverse speed 28. It's not the fastest. It's not the fastest tank on the field for traverse, but it's not bad. I really don't think you can get in and circle people, but you can definitely flank with it. All in all, not a bad tank at all. Equipment. Well, I would go with, I don't know about a shell rammer, really. I mean, with that, it depends on the gun. If I'm using the 88, I would probably go with a rammer. If I'm using the long 100, I probably wouldn't go with the rammer just because it has an incredible rate of speed anyway, and it's 10%. So, if you have a long loading time, 10% is a lot more than if you have a very fast loading time. If you're sniping, I would probably go with Binox, gunlay drive, and I would probably leave the third option, whatever you want to put, probably ventilation. Well, I'd definitely put ventilation on it, no matter which way you go. If you're going to try to be a flanker, I would go ventilation, shell rammer, and I would probably go aiming speed. Or, can you put... No, you can't. So I'd probably go with the shell rammer, vent, and gunlay drive. Would probably be what I would do. Full rack consumables. And that's about it, guys, boys and girls. Just keep everybody off your ass. Keep everybody off your sides. Oh, turret. Forgot our turret. 120 millimeters on the turret. And most, the way, if you look here at the front of this turret, the mantlet takes up a large portion of the front. And then the sides have the sloping on here. So it's only 120, millimeters of armor. But you have the sloped mantle, or gun mantlet, and then you have the sloping at the sides and very little target on the front. And when you're moving, because you're going to be moving, because you're going to be trying to flank, at the ass and sides of these heavies, it reduces the likelihood of getting hit in the 120 millimeter armor range there. So yeah, it is a good tank. Just out of curiosity, look at the turret armor on this T-43, which we'll cover this one later, but I'll just say, I don't really care for this tank. I don't care for any of the Russian mediums up to this point, but I hear the T-44 is going to be a lot better. So, fingers crossed, here's hoping. So yeah, I mean, this thing has far superior armor all around to its counterpart, to its Russian counterpart. And it's definitely got more than the T-20, because we know how crappy that is. So guys, let's jump into a game. I think I've been yakking long enough. Alright guys, here we are on Fisherman's Bay in a Tier 8 game with the Panther. Now if I recall correctly, I do have the long 100 on this gun in this battle. I switch them back and forth. No, it was the 88. That's right, the randoms battle we had, I had the long 100, and this one I put the 88 on here. Be honest, I really don't remember what happened in this game. It's been a little bit since I actually played this. I actually played this game before I did all the videos for the 8.1 server. So yeah, it's been a couple weeks since I played this one. So let's see what happens, shall we? So as we can see, I am the medium, so I decided to come up on this side of the map. And as you can see, everybody else went the other way. Now I will mention, this is the only replay I have for this video. Future garage segments, or future garage episodes from here on out will contain more than one. I'm kind of going to redo the format of the show a little bit. Excuse me. Alright. So I'm going to hide behind a bush. Because I don't have hardly anybody. Let's kind of look around here a little bit. Yeah, there's an M26 coming up over here. Where'd that other one go? Oh, okay, there's Easy 8 coming up over here. Yeah, I don't expect a whole lot of help from the Easy 8 in this game. But who knows? Here comes T-44 screaming up here like a bat out of hell. And we tracked him. Nice. Side of the turret, side of the turret, side of the turret. Hey! Hey! You fucker, I was trying to shoot him. Alright, so we're reloaded. It's a fairly good reload on this gun as well. Not as good as the long 100, but pretty good. And damn, we bounced off of it. It's alright, that's alright, we'll get him this time. Oh, penetration, no damage. Damn it! Fire! Woohoo! I finally got him. Probably did some damage. Yeah, I got the kill, but it's not gonna count for a whole lot because I kept bouncing off of him and shit. So we got an M18 coming up here. I think he's probably gonna rule the day. He pushed this far forward. Yeah, he should have seen, you know, how many that that 44 had on him, and maybe he turned around and ran away. I would have. No, I'm not gonna push up, at least not by myself, and I'm let that M26 go, and he just got hit hard. That's why I wanted to see what was up there. Is that IS that nailed him? Had to have been an IS that hit him that hard. So we got 2 tier 6s. Oh shit, and the Jag Panther. Great. Yeah! Nice shot. Okay, he ain't even gonna look at me. You can run away now? Oh, damn gun depression. So now we got 4 tanks up there, down here, and there's 3 of us. Now, I think we're a little outgunned here. Definitely outnumbered. Ah. Just a ding on the IS. Damn it, man. And he's definitely the major threat here. Oh, shit. Now, that Panther just hit us. Where did he... See, right there. Right there in that flat spot of the turret. Damn it, man. Okay, well, there goes the Jag Panther. Now, we need to try to get that IS down. Is what we need. Oh, there's that VK. Now, that had to hurt him. I didn't see his damage go down, but that was right in the port. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Well, the VK is now gone. IS is still down there. He's the big threat, but I got a shot on this M18. You're out of there. See ya, biatch. Ah, there we go. Track saved me. Nice 222 damage. 202, and I'll finish him off with a... it said 399. That couldn't possibly have been on me. Couldn't have possibly been on me. Not with this gun. I didn't get the ammo rack icon up there, so... This team, though, just walked all over these guys. Our flank did really good. I don't know where all their people went because I'm not seeing a whole lot of other kills on our team. What was that? T20 got 2, T20 got 2 kills. Or T29, I think. Yeah, T29 got 2 kills. 2 kills on already. So, yeah, okay, I guess that is about right. But still. Alright, we are heading up here. Now, I did get 3 kills, but I did not do the majority of the damage because for some reason or another, I was getting good shots in, but they weren't doing any damage. Yeah, I think that's bullshit, really. I mean, that's not right. And I don't think, unless it's a critical hit, I don't think it actually does anything to, like, you know, knocking out a module or a crew member. Or, bam, SU-5 is out of here. Oh, SU-18, there you are. Come on, come on. Goodbye. See ya. Now we got the priest. Now we gotta try this thing at sniping. And we missed. And he is disappeared. It's David Copperfield the tank. So I'm sure they're going to get him long before I do. Yep, they finished him off, guys. Alright, let's look at the game in place here and see how we did. We did get 4 kills, but let's see what the plates have to say. Alright guys, and as we can see here, we did get 20,000 credits. Would have been 13,000 without premium. So yeah, you can see guys there, premium really pays off. It is a free-to-play game, but look at the credit difference. I mean, I would have got 13,460 on a free account, or going premium, I got 20,000 credits. Look at the experience, 1,608 experience on a free account. I got 2,412 because it's a premium account. So yeah, premium really helps, guys. Alright, so we can see here we did hit the Panther once. We also got credit for spotting him while somebody else was damaging him. I hit the M18 once, killed him. Hit the other M18 once, killed him. Now those are just finishing shots, so that doesn't really help out all that much. I did get 4 shots in on the T-44, 2 critical hits, and killed him. Not sure how much. Not sure if we're getting experience for the critical hits or not. I might have to check into that. Let's see. I hit the VK and yeah, did nothing to him whatsoever, and I hit him in a viewport, which is just insane that it did nothing. I just don't get that. Let's see. We got 3 shots on the IS and we killed him. Now you can see here we have sorted this by who got the most XP. And I was 4th from the top, so that's not too shabby. I guess maybe I did a little bit better than what I thought. And the experience here, you'll note, guys, is experience before the ×2 and before the premium account. So 801 or 804 is what I would have got if I was on free account and it wasn't, the first victory of the day on that tank. But yeah, 804, not too shabby. You can see we got damn near double what the top tank on the enemy team got. Now you do want to remember though, you do get more for actually winning. So yeah, that doesn't really apply there. But yeah, we got a lot more than the vast majority of our team. Like I said, Panther down there, he got nothing. Poor guy. He got no kills. He was killed in the combat. He had got no kills and no experience. I mean, he didn't shoot shit. So I'm gonna guess he's probably an AFK guy. Alright guys, and as you can see here on our last slot, we fired 15 shots, direct hits with 11, 8 shots penetrated, so not too bad there. Fired 15, we only missed with 4 shots, caused 853 damage. Again, it's not the best, but it's not too bad, considering the gun only does 200 and some odd damage there. Received 2 hits, which is good. We were able to avoid a lot of hits and allow others to take the hits. Like that M6 took a huge hit from that IS. And let's see, damage upon spotting was 320. So that means we spotted them, they did the damage, that's a pretty good chunk of our total damage cost actually. So yeah, overall guys, pretty decent game. And the tank is pretty good, no real complaints. It is tier 7 tank. And I haven't played with the Panther 2 yet, but I do hope to get there soon. And hopefully that tank is, a lot better. I mean, because the Panther 2, the Panther is a good tank, but there are a lot of areas that could be improved. So hopefully they improved quite a bit on them. So remember guys, comment, rate, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the videos. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see the future videos we have coming out. Until next time guys, I will see you in game.